Woo! Imagine a world where every creature possessing a Y chromosome has just died. In a single moment, the world's animal population has been reduced by roughly half, and the world is now circling the drain in a catch-22 situation. This is now a world where most of the world's politicians, scientists, military, filmmakers, and cartoonists are no longer with us. This is a world of chaos and desperation, a world trying to find its way in the cataclysm wrath of darkness, where all males have been eradicated from the face of the planet. Where stories like Why the Last Man Succeed, stories like World in Harm, Parallel Paradise, and recently This World's Become Mine only fly completely overhead and seem to be written by horny numbskulls with little forethought to the narrative than how many sexually compromising positions can they place their characters in. But discussing the latter solely because it's receiving an anime adaptation, World Ends Harm is a poor man's drift off the Blue Orchid Island casted away Aryan Island, and considering it's been 13 years since I've watched that anime, that should say something considering again that the newer iterations of this basic story premise lack any and all flavor, dissolving whatever passion and standards writers could have, sending it crashing into rocks. Worlds in Harm stripped to bare bones is a male fantasy where women greatly outnumber men on the earth by 99.999999999%, with the main cast of characters' goal being to pull his plug whenever he so desires and repopulate the earth. Only problem is the main character is denser than the ocean and more spineless than a cockroach. Nothing he does is within reason, and the overarching narrative is thicker than a layer of gravy rammed up your ass. That doesn't win any prizes for breaking any new ground on anything other than how nauseating the plot is, to the point where the only way to enjoy this series is to be a horny teenager or to clutch onto whatever straws you can find and call whatever that might be a positive from a story that has gone off the rails, lost focus, and has his head rammed into a dumpster that's on fire of unmemorable rubbish. But to save this festering lack of direction with eye candy instead of the pits of the devil's forearms, naturally we'll be evaluating hentai and something more wholesome than what we've priorly discussed on this channel. Noble mind break and crippling depression mixed with self-loathing and indignity, no deals with the devil that lead to characters to make horrific sexual decisions in exchange for power and success, granting them time manipulation abilities or shape-shifting powers. No, whatever in God's name this was about. No, revenge fantasy. And no, I'm not reading that story again where the girl takes drugs and has sex with that dude in the back of the limousine, ODs, and gets dropped off in front of a dumpster for her mom to discover her dead daughter in the newspaper. This is wholesome. This is Earth Girls, you degenerates. Earth Girls is a story that bubbles into clear-eyed optimism about competence in the face of utter catastrophe, displaying the best of humanity, featuring characters that are resourceful, resolute, and idealistic in the face of their inevitable extinction. Kind of. During the intro of this video, I stated that this was a High School of the Dead-esque apocalyptic series that features heavy Yuri interactions. I lied, and I know everything that woes the fancy of everyone subscribed to this channel revolves around degeneracy. This time we'll be evaluating the cultural differences and mindsets accomplished with Eastern and Western entertainment, storytelling that only happens to feature lesbian/Yuri undertones with a dash of girl power feminism, if you never mind. Now, where most tales like The Walking Dead, The Strain, The 100, or Why the Last Man would critique humanity's role as a species on the planet, as we are the only predators on the planet afraid of ourselves, discussing if we truly are the apex predators of the planet, are we prey, or are we something else entirely, like hitless chickens running around a minefield struggling to communicate our emotions. Earth Girls forgoes the argument of natural disasters and mystery plagues that quell the population, and simply says humans aren't lions and gazelles, avoiding the logical extremes of popular Western imagination, and says, as humans, we have nothing to check but ourselves, because something has to clean our litter tray. But these kinds of decent people are limited and far in between in reality, whereas in fiction, these characters' archetypes spout like weeds harboring the resiliency of cockroaches. What Earth Girls is about at face value is a story about women, whose name I don't remember, collecting trophy wives, and a tribe of women who also happen to be lesbians, rejecting men because they like to chew on carpet. Oh wait, can I say that? Oh wait, I don't care. Now, where the story has every opportunity to ride the girls rule and boys drool narrative of indestructible women who can do almost anything and all things that might as well be named Mary Sue, Earth Girl manages to avoid being the third Star Wars trilogy by being about a tribe of mind-numbingly ridiculous and colorfully flavored women trying to survive in an age akin to the Ice Age, which in my opinion, they won't, but where most Western cultures would lambast how this series' depiction of its female characters for the unbearable reasons they decide to have sex and do what they do to put food on their plate, ultimately showcases the dichotomy between Eastern and Western culture fixation on self-individualism against a collective form of thought, taking into account the differing environments we are raised in and cultures that surround us, thereby making it so we'd all individually have different priorities and problem-solving techniques, going against the theory that all humans are similar and alike, and our circumstances and experiences ultimately accumulate to who we are as people and character traits. For example, take whatever her name is here on the screen, and we'll look at her journey throughout the course of this story and compare it to the horny succubus character from that dreadful TV show Lost Girls named Bo. In Lost Girls, because the Wikipedia page says she's bisexual, I guess I'll say that first, followed by she's fiercely independent and shows great loyalty to her friends, frequently risking her life to help them when she's not getting them off, considering succubus are extremely sexual beings, needing sex not only to feed and survive but for entertainment, meaning she has sex with everyone in between the earth and the moon, over the finish line and out of the Milky Way, because it's one of these shows where a new relationship plot is forced into the show every 6 to 7 episodes, from unrequited love to secret sex fetish and super degenerates. This show has it all, because why not have the main character's coochie be a character too? Now, because I've watched this show, and you don't need to know why I did, and you don't need to know why I know so much more about this show than I should, I can tell you, Lauren is not only the worst character, but she's also as bad as the main character Bo. But again, because I've watched this show before, I can comfortably say the main character's motivation throughout the duration of the series is her own individual success, as she sees the world as her sandbox, then blames all the problems she has on her being a succubus, her broken home life, and XYZ from baby fucking rhinoceros to nothing getting her more wet than a golfer. This is a character of, again, self-independence and self-reliance that views depending on others for help as an indication of weakness, which brings upon shame, rejecting the need for comfort, support, or help in any way until it's too late or things hit the fan, being a killer emotionally and physically, making her personal ambitions her ultimate priority, from it being killing someone to being morally superior to those that she opposes to being a bitch. Not only does this character believe this is appropriate behavior, this is a character surrounded by an environment that is actively encouraging her to be different and stand out. Not to mention the human versus fae conflict that's akin to a race war saying to the other, I'm better than you because I have supernatural powers and I'm a supernatural creature and you're a normie flesh bag. To summarize all of this, Bo is a character that is divided between two worlds cliche and pushes herself to be better than everybody else to find more value in who she is and purpose, making her goals take precedence over everyone else's, where the latter status quo of the series becomes bonkers adventures with cast and crew for 5 seasons, with big bad whose motivations become evil for the sake of being evil cliche. Moving on to Earth Girls, the main character of said series will be referred to as Thea, because I can't name any of them while taking into account the paper-thin story and its forgettable characters that wear thin. Either way, this story brings forth a recurring nightmare I have. But disregarding all the tasteless mush, every character in this delightfully wholesome series embodies conventional Eastern culture, as all the characters find strength through kindred, evaluating their society, leaving no role or task alienating to one individual. The only major divergence from this norm is that these characters express a high degree of imagination and freedom, straying away from discipline and respecting their elders to pursue their more romantic whims, having love and flamboyant expression prioritized over modesty and success. Long story short, an individualistic person would view the world in linear form, with a set rulebook and obstacles to overcome, whereas a collectivist view the world more holistically, or one part of many. Suffice to say, the world is run by little people, as everyone's small contribution makes it a tapestry. But what does this all mean? Well, contextually speaking, these two forms of thought ultimately explain why anime protagonists are generally willfully optimistic high schoolers that tend to be doormats, complemented by low-stakes, low-T, low-tone comedy-esque adventures the majority of the time, i.e. Dorara, Sword Art Online, Kaiju 8, Gintama, Naruto, Black Clover, One Piece, etc., etc., etc. Against, I don't know, Western hard-boiled and grizzled protagonists featuring grim, dark, and edgy stories or narratives centered around something completely lackadaisical, but has flair for being dramatic or somewhat thought-provoking. That would be Hannibal, Persons of Interest, Evil, American Horror Story, blah blah blah, the list goes on. Eastern anime and shows feature characters that help benefit a society or a civilization as a whole. That's why characters tend to build friendships easily and do things because it's right, seeming like a doormat again, or in other words, this video.
I'm going through a tough time right now, bro. Please, please, please! No!
You were always so kind to me.
Who are you?
Remember me? From earlier?
What's up, bro?
What's up, man? How are you?
You treated me like no one else did. You were like a brother to me. Just remember to protect my cousin.
Nigga, I don't know you.
Against characters that do things out of whatever self-imposed goals they've given themselves, from getting rich to wanting to find purpose in life or revenge or something. But it just occurred to me, this is a hentai video, and there's not much hentai in it, so it might as well go through the majority of the story. So, let me try to wing this. What's going on here? Oh yeah. Thea gets lost in the storm, she encounters this character, they hang out in a cave, they both have sex, another character shows up and indoctrinates her into their tribal lesbian society, where a plethora of characters are met, but none of them matter. The only one that does is the chief lesbian of the bunch, and she has 10 wives and wants Thea all to herself because blah blah blah. Some characters get their back blown out. Oh wait, that's not this. Okay, some characters get their carpet vacuumed. Then there's some obligatory backstory about how this entire society happened. Two girls fell in love and disobeyed their parents and ran away Romeo and Juliet style without the death or poison. Blah blah blah. No artificial conflict. She likes her, but the new girl likes the other one, but she always like the best friend. They sex it out and there isn't a problem anymore. Skipping to the end, blah blah blah. So that character Manny shows up from Ice Age, and because Thea wants to prove that she can be a productive member of society, she hunts him, fails. There's a bit of character introspection, which leads into Thea becoming a sex toy. The end. When thinking about it in the grander context, Radio of a Healer and all that other super degenerate content were super raunchy stories, but what made them entertaining to have discussions about was how stupid they were and funny to laugh at. So I worked this whole wholesome phase out of my system. I'm going back to being a degenerate.